People say that words can't break you, but they do. Not the words of strangers, the ones spoken inside your own home. My name is Martha, and I used to believe love could fix anything. Until my own daughter-in-law looked me in the eyes and called me worthless. When my son, David, brought her home, I welcomed her like my own daughter. I gave her my jewelry, my recipes, even my favorite chair near the window. For the first few months, everything felt right. But slowly, I started noticing how she sighed when I spoke, how she rolled her eyes when I forgot things, and how she whispered to David when I wasn't around. I told myself she was just stressed, young, maybe tired. But kindness only survives so long in a house that no longer feels like home. One evening in the kitchen, I tried to help her cook. "Please, Mom, just sit down," she said sharply. "You're too slow. I'll handle it." The knife slipped from my hand. I stepped back quietly. That night I sat in my room and cried. Not because of her words, but because my son said nothing. Silence. That's the sharpest knife in any home. I had spent my life working as a factory supervisor, 30 years of sweat, late nights, and missed birthdays. When my husband passed, I sold everything and gave half of it to David to start his business. I thought I was investing in family, not buying my own rejection. One morning I overheard her saying to a friend, "She's lucky we even let her stay here. She's just old baggage." I stood behind the door, hands shaking, heartbreaking. But I didn't walk in. Instead, I made a quiet promise to myself. One day, she'll understand who she called worthless. Before I retired, I wasn't just another worker. I was a co-founder of the textile company where David's business began. I had sold my shares when my health declined. The papers with my signature still carried power, more than they could imagine. That evening, she invited her friends for dinner. She bragged about her husband's business and their new car. He sat quietly, listening, invisible, until one of her friends asked, "So, who owns the company?" She smiled and said, "David, of course." His mother never worked a day in her life. The room fell silent. I stood up, walked to my room, and came back holding a small brown envelope. I placed it in front of her plate and said calmly, "This is for you." She laughed nervously, opened it, and froze. Inside were the original ownership papers, my name printed above the company title, and a short note that read, "The worthless woman you mocked once built the empire you live on." I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I simply looked at my son and said, "I raised you to respect people, not their money. I hope you remember that, now that you've lost both." That night I left. I rented a small apartment near the sea. I started teaching young women sewing and small business skills. Within a year, our workshop became a community project, Threads of Dignity. Every stitch told a story of strength. And sometimes, David visits quietly. He doesn't speak much. He just sits and watches me teach. Maybe now he understands that value doesn't come from titles or houses. It comes from heart, work, and respect. They once called me worthless, but I became a story worth remembering.